In the Mesopotamian city of Uruk, around 4000 BCE, humanity began a transition that would alter our biology forever. Turning cereal grains into food was a grueling process, requiring citizens to spend their lives crushing wheat and barley between heavy stones. This shift had a measurable cost. As we moved from the varied diet of hunter-gatherers to the repetitive labor of farming, the average height of men shrunk from 5'9" to 5'3", a physical decline reflected in women as well. Despite this, grain surpluses caused a population explosion. Uruk grew to 50,000 residents, packing people into smaller, landlocked spaces. This density created a problem our ancestors hadn't faced: the logistical chaos of 50,000 people living on top of one another. In these confined spaces, the threat of internal violence and disease became a constant pressure. What we recognize as civilization emerged as a survival mechanism. It was a system designed to regulate and control this urban friction before it destroyed the community from within. This first great leap in our history set a pattern. We secured collective safety and predictable food, but we did so by trading away the physical vitality and total independence of our past. Maintaining order in a city of 50,000 required more than just walls. It required a way to organize and rank the people living inside them. King Hammurabi of Babylon codified this ranking into law. His code, etched here into this 7-foot stone stela, explicitly valued a noble's life above a commoner's, and a commoner's above a slave's. This legal inequality mirrored the era's physical architecture. Society became a pyramid where a tiny elite claimed a divine right to rule, leaving the vast majority at the bottom to support the weight of the state. For those at the base, life was defined by the land. This manuscript shows the reality for the peasants and serfs who were legally bound to the fields, providing the labor necessary to build monuments and fill granaries. Early empires were held together by more than just shared resources. They functioned through the rigid legal enforcement of social rank. But law alone isn't enough to prevent a massive workforce from realizing its own collective strength. Rulers needed ways to ensure the 99% remained compliant. One mechanism was psychological. Philosophies like Confucianism and Taoism emerged, offering a framework for how the individual should relate to the state. By emphasizing rituals, respect for hierarchy, and the acceptance of the natural flow of the universe, these systems helped individuals find purpose within a rigid structure, rather than fighting against it. But when philosophy failed to maintain order, empires turned to the second mechanism, the threat of overwhelming violence. History is filled with examples of order being physically enforced. Alexander the Great destroyed entire cities to discourage revolt, while the Mongols famously used the threat of total annihilation to keep conquered territories in line. As Niccolò Machiavelli would later observe, when holding power, it is much safer for a ruler to be feared than to be loved. These two forces, philosophical duty and the fear of punishment, became the dual pillars that supported the early state, keeping landlocked populations tethered to the system. No matter how well guarded, systems built on extreme inequality and fear eventually reach a limit. We see the first major pushbacks against absolute authority occurring across centuries, as people began to demand a share in the power that governed them. In 1215, English barons forced King John to sign the Magna Carta. This dense Latin script represents one of the first times a monarch's power was legally constrained by the rights of his subjects. In the 1500s, Martin Luther fractured the religious monopoly of the church, while in China, the Red Turban successfully rose up to overthrow the Mongol occupation. These local revolts paved the way for the Enlightenment, a period dedicated to rethinking the relationship between the ruler and the ruled. By 1776, the social contract was being entirely rewritten. The Declaration of Independence moved away from divine hierarchy, claiming that all men possess unalienable rights that no government can legally take away. This new contract attempted a difficult balance, creating the order necessary for a functioning civilization without sacrificing the fundamental liberty of the individual. We are no longer the physically shrinking farmers of the ancient world, but we are still navigating that same ancient tension, searching for an equilibrium between collective progress and the freedom of the individual.